Sometimes we'll detail out a wall section or some sort of architectural detail and realize that that information could be used again in another location. In this case, we have a section view going through the wall on the east side of our building. What I'd like to do is copy all this information and then place it into the wall section we have on the west side of the building. In order to do this, we first need to window around that information that we want to bring from one side of the building to the other side of the building. So I'm going to move my cursor into the blank area here, click once, hold my mouse button down, and window around this area here. This wall already exists over on the other side of the building, so I don't want to take it with me. To get rid of it, we can come up here to the filter and then clear the check mark next to walls. Now we're only going to be taking with us different material tags and detail items. We'll click on OK to that. Next, we need to create a detail group out of these. And we can do that by selecting on Create Group. Now it's given us a big warning message, and the warning message relates to these orange colored notes that we see here. And it's saying that it can't put these notes into the detail group. If these had been done out of just normal text, so using the text command and placing arrows, it would have no problem in doing this. But these are actually tags that are associated with the three-dimensional wall. And since three-dimensional wall is not part of this detail, it can't bring those along with it because they're associated with that wall. So we'll just bring over the detail components that we have available to us here in the blue, as well as the notes that are pointing to those objects. So we'll click on OK. We'll give this a name. In this case, we'll call it Wall Section. Click on OK. And now one of the most important parts is where it has this X and Y coordinate, to click on the dot right there sort of in between them, and then drag it down to a common location that both of these details share. In this case, the bottom of the foundation wall works really well for that. From here, we can click off of this to get out of the command. And now I'd like to bring open the section view, which we can find under the project browser, and then make sure the sections is expanded out, and then double click where we have our wall section east. This wall is constructed the exact same way that the other wall was constructed. Now we can bring our detail group into here, and without having to re-detail this completely out, we can just insert it into this view at this location that we just specified in the other view, and we should see all that detail information now inside of this view. So to get to that information, underneath groups here in the project browser, click the little plus, and then select where it has wall section. Now, if you hold your mouse button down after selecting on wall section, you can drag it over into your viewing area. When you let go, this box is going to show up. If we zoom in here and click at that same common intersection point that we defined in the previous view, we can now see that those notes and each of those detail component objects are now inside of this view. And if we wanted to make modifications to this, we could simply highlight here, and any changes we'd make in the group from underneath Edit Group would also update those notes back in the other view. So for instance, if I click on Edit Group here, I could click on this 2x6 information, and maybe I want to just pull it down and over, and maybe I want to manipulate this and line it up appropriately with this note. Click on Finish to this. We can now see that those notes are in that location here. And if we go back to that other section view, which is called Wall Section West, and double click, if we zoom out, we can now see that those notes have updated in this view as well. So just by making the change in one of the section views, it's now going to update it throughout the project anywhere that group is placed. One other thing that we could do is we can just manipulate it in just the one view. So if we go back to the Wall Section East view, maybe we don't want to have this 2x6 showing up here right in the middle of the door. Well, one of the things that we could do is just select right here on the group, and technically we could click on Ungroup on the ribbon. If we do that though, it's going to lose the association between this view and the other view, meaning that any changes we would make would not show up in the other group. So the other thing that we could do is just kind of highlight over this. And if we click on the Tab key on the keyboard after highlighting over where the 2x6 information is at, we can then left click to select it. We can right click on this little symbol here, and there's an option here called Move to Project. From here, we can click on the arrow and we can drag it over, drag it out, and place it wherever we want to. And then just click here, and now we can see this 2x6 node is still pointing now to the 2x6, but it's now pulled out of the building. And if we go back to the wall section west, we'll see that if we zoom out, that note here was not affected in the least. Because by doing that move that we just did, it only affected the one note in the one wall section view. So using groups allows you to duplicate your work in multiple different spots. It allows you to update that section or that group and then have it propagate those changes every place that information might change throughout the project. And you can also, on an individual basis, select individual notes, detail items, whatever is in the group, modify those, put them in different locations, and at that point, it'll only make that change to that one specific area, that one specific view.